Tonight, we're going to be going into part 2 of fund development, okay? As I said last week, this is probably one of the most important topics or skills that you in the nonprofit world will ever need. This is the one that will help you with your career goals. This is the area that when you work at a nonprofit, they're going to ask you if you know how to fundraise and what you have done in the way of fundraising. Between this and board development, these are the core skills. So we're going to jump into this, and I think we'll listen up. What we're going to do tonight is we're going to break this down into about 3 parts. I'm going to do a very quick review, probably 10 to 15 minutes of what we did last week, so we have a transition into this week. Okay? Then we're going to get into some new things, and then I'm going to ask people that are doing are presenting to our foundation guests next week to talk a little bit about their LOIs and what they've done to prepare for the interviews next week. And then we're going to finish tonight talking about the nonprofit business partnership, which is really important. Nonprofits can really gain a whole lot from our business sector and vice versa. We're going to talk about that. So when you go out doing community-based fundraising, don't ignore small business or large business. They can be a very, very, very big support and help to you in your nonprofit. Okay, Melissa, how do I get out? Yes, good. Thank you. Thank you very much. Okay, and again, in terms of review, who can tell me the essence of this chart? Where am I going with it? We saw this last week, I talked about it. What's the point I want to make?
That individuals fund more than anybody else.
They do. Generally, 72 to 75% of your money for your nonprofit should be coming from your community, directly from your community. As you see here, corporations only 4%. You would think it'd be a lot more. Foundations 16%, unless you have a strong relationship with foundations, in which case you get more money from foundations. That's generally not true. Bequests 8%. So emphasis is on individual contributions from the community. This is the most sustaining source of income. This is a source of income that will grow every year if you do things right. In other words, cultivate, stay with your donors while you're looking for new donors, keeping in mind that your seasoned donors or the people who are donating now are much easier to keep than to get a new donor where you have to go through the entire cultivation process. Okay. As I mentioned, this was probably the smallest and probably the most fun organization I ever worked with. I had real strong foundation support because I've been working with foundations for a lot of years. Government support, very wishy-washy. You just don't know from one month to the other where it's going to come from. I consider it fluff money. The community support, look at what it's done here. Obviously past the foundations here and here, and the essence is that your community-based funding is by far the best source of funding that you can go for. Okay, your turn. What are the 3 premises of fundraising? Jimmy?
People give to people.
You're reading.
I am. I took notes. I'm allowed to.
Is it? It should be loud.
People have need to give, and it's an opportunity to meet community needs.
It's an opportunity to what?
Meet the community's needs.
Oh, I was thinking you didn't take all the notes. Apparently you did. People have a need to give, yes. People give to people, and actually they give to people more than they give to organizations, believe it or not. Some people will argue that, and I'll argue it back. And the third is you're not asking for yourself. You're given an opportunity to meet your community needs, because it's going to be a win-win-win situation all around. And when you're out there soliciting a donor, keep in mind that you're doing that donor a favor, and you're probably gaining a friend, and you're giving that donor what that donor wants anyway, which is an opportunity to give something. Okay? I don't know that I've ever turned down when I've asked somebody for help. You've seen this before. Do we all believe it? It's absolutely true. It's all about relationships. In fact, life is all about relationships. My opinion. Okay, let's focus a little bit on this. Know who you are. Know what you can do. Know what you can stand for. Know your tolerance level. Be disciplined. Do you have that time? Do you have the passion? Do you have that fire in your belly to be able to do this? Do you believe in your organization enough that you can go out and you can support it with community funds, foundation funds, government funds, etc.? That's an important one. If you don't, then you probably shouldn't be out there soliciting dollars, but you can certainly support somebody who is. And I would suggest to you that at least get a start. I gave you a story of Tim last time, I think. This is a guy who said he never would raise money. Went to a party, sat next to a girl and got a friend of his for a year. He'd known her for a year. She wrote him a check for $98,000 some odd dollars before she left the party. And then I got an email from him saying, "It works, Bob, it works." Okay. How well do you relate to people? If you think you don't relate well, you probably don't. If you think you relate, did I say that right? If you think you relate to people, you probably do. If you don't think you relate, you probably don't. So kind of look at yourself there, and I should look at myself right now too. Give your own personal gift first. And why is that? We talked about it.
Commitment shows that you care.
Yeah.
Sacrifice.
Yeah. Well, it's impossible to ask somebody for something if you can't do it yourself, isn't it? It would be for me. I would not have the enthusiasm, the passion, the drive, the fire in my belly to ask, say, Janine for $100 if I don't give $100 or more. I've got to set the example. I've got to feel that it's important enough for everybody to give because I gave, everybody else has to give. It's an attitude. You need to be enthusiastic, excited, passionate about what you believe in. If you are passionate, if you believe in what you're doing, other people will definitely follow you. Let me get this out of the way, because this is important. Believe in yourself and others will follow. Have you found that to be true in life? In all aspects of life? Raise your hand if you have. Okay. Who hasn't? Cowards. Okay, I think I saw everybody's hand there. Okay, 100% of your board needs to give. You will. I don't know what these foundation people are going to say next week, but I suspect at least the Vista will say, if your board doesn't give 100%, I'm not going to give you a dime. It's that important. And do you have the resources to start? Equipment, money, people, time, yes, volunteers, et cetera, et cetera. Do a lot of homework. Be well prepared before you jump into this so you don't get frustrated midway through or even at the beginning and say, I don't have the time to do it, or I don't have the passion to do it, or we don't have facilities, and so on and so forth. So lots of homework is really, really, really important. Okay? Okay, I'm going to run through this real quickly. You remember the story of Paul? Do you? Okay. I did tell you it's a true story, didn't I? Okay.
Showed us the newspaper.
I'm sorry?
Showed us the newspaper.
Oh, yeah. These are the 4 things that I think are the most important when you look for that investor. Okay? Keep in mind, people that give, consider them investors in your program. And you might want to refer that to them in your conversations, because you are investing in a program that has paybacks to you, our community, etc. And remind them of that, and sometimes that'll, more times than not actually, that'll wake people up. The rest of this is important, but I focus on the first four. Okay? What did we talk about when we talked about people that live in castles?
They don't give a lot.
Pardon me?
They probably don't give a lot.
They don't. They, percentage-wise to their income, they give the least. People that actually give the most are people that live in this type of house, middle-class house, drive a white Cherokee Jeep, shop at thrift stores, are very humble. You wouldn't know they have it. We'll talk about that in just a minute. Toys, airplanes, boats, motorcycles, doesn't mean a whole lot, actually. Vacations, not that important to look at. Payback's important. Does somebody owe something to the community? Does somebody owe something to your organization? There's usually a need to pay back, and you can find a way through a win-win situation to have them make a contribution to your organization in return for maybe what you've done for them. Paul was an example of that. Okay, remember we worked with his wife? Position in the community, or probably more accurately, the position that somebody wants to have in the community. Some people don't have the position, so they kind of buy their way into it. Tax deductible requirements. Most people, I shouldn't say most, a lot of people at the end of the year, if they've made a considerable amount of money, look for tax breaks. And I think we all do when it comes down to our charity. A lot of us will collect receipts and all, and we'll be able to take that off our income tax and reduce our tax a little bit. Okay. Age of kids, that's important. Are they out of the home, or are you still supporting your children? If they're out of the home, that means you might have some flexibility in what you spend money on. Interest in a specific cause, I find this to be really pretty important. People that have had, by example, somebody in the family die of cancer, generally what they do is they'll give their contribution, or a large chunk of their contributions, to cancer research. Level of education. This is the millionaire next door. This is the guy we all live next to. This is who he really is. Okay? This is what you see. This is what can be. Now, this may be a little bit of an exaggeration, but this is where most of the money actually comes from when it comes down to community giving. We talked about this. This is nothing more than just a tool for us to think through who's out there in our community, who's out there in our world of friends that has the means to support our organization. And the bottom line is that 10% of individuals who give 90% of the campaign goal. Okay? That means a lot of people in the community, probably a lot fewer that might be in Circle A here, but most of the people will be in a level, C level. But these people here, percentage-wise to their income, will give less, but because their income is so large, there'll be more money coming in. Does that make sense? Yeah? Are you sure? Did I say it right? Okay. Motivation for donors. We talked about this a fair amount. Cultivating the prospect. Cultivation. What that merely means is that what you're doing is you're building a relationship with someone. You're staying with them in thick and thin. You're staying with them in terms of building a relationship of friendship, because fundraising is really friend raising. And that's how I look at it. You're really raising friends. In reality, you are. You are raising friends. Okay? talked about homework, have that done. I would suggest to you that you probably put many, many more time into planning for a campaign or planning for a fundraising activity than the actual fundraising activity requires itself when it comes right down to that day. Whose job is it to get out there and advocate for your organization? It's everybody's. What I find works best for me is I take past donors, and usually people that have a fair amount of money, that have given a fair amount of money, and I have them ask their friends. So we get into, what I found works really well are house parties. Have any of you done a house party here? How many people have raised money here? I saw hands. Don't be shy. Okay, you've not done house parties. I would suggest you might want to do that. And the way I found it works best for a house party is find a really nice house. A house that people that don't have the kind of income to buy that kind of house will want to go to. Okay? Because you're kind of making them feel a little bit more important, which they are. They want to see how the rich and famous live. Etc. Or country clubs work really well too. A private room in a country club. And buy people lunch, do a presentation. Best yet is have your clients or your consumers do the presentation and have them speak directly from their own hearts and their own minds to your prospective donors. House parties are great. Country clubs are great. If you have a fundraising effort, let's say at Starbucks, it just isn't going to work. Okay, that doesn't work. The follow-up is the follow-up to every time you have a meeting or a contact with a donor, I would do a follow-up, phone call, a note, a letter, something that's special to let the donor know that you care and you're staying with them and so on. So the follow-up is really very, very important. Special events, we did a whole session here, a month or so ago on special events, 2.5 hours. We talked a lot about that. And I find these are really important because what this does is bring the community out in mass. It brings the community to a point where everybody is working towards the same thing. They see all their friends. They want to be part of a project that is a winner. And you want to make the event a lot of fun. So. One person needs to coordinate this. More than one person, people get in the way. Donors might be hit 2, 3, or 4 times by 2, 3, or 4 different solicitors, and that will turn the donor off very, very quickly. It can happen anywhere. I put an example here of people going skiing together and talking about it, to barbecues, you name it. The grocery store is a great place to run into somebody and have a quick conversation. I find that the vegetable section works probably best because people pick over the vegetables. If they go to bread, that's, they grab a loaf of bread, that's it. If they're grabbing a beer, they know what kind they want, and they don't spend much time there. They don't look at choosing the right beer. So vegetables work well, probably the best. So hang out at your grocery store. Look for people at the vegetable stand. Okay, know when the right time is to ask, and you will know that. You will feel it. You will feel that connection because people will appear to be interested, involved, might be asking questions. Eye contact, look at that. And, if they're looking away, they may not be as interested. If they're wanting more information, they're probably interested, and so on. So look for that right time. And special events work really well to make an ask. If you develop and cultivated a relationship where you can go out and have lunch or dinner or a picnic is even better, that might be a good time to ask. But may ask in a place that people are very comfortable in. Not necessarily yourself, although that would be good, But if the prospective donor is comfortable in an environment, and if he's happy or she's happy, or in this case, if they're drinking, they're a little bit looser with their money. So I'm not suggesting you carry a bottle of wine in your back pocket. Although, yeah, flask. Anyway, what wealthy donors want, these are people that have a lot of dollars. They like campaigns that support a lot of people, projects the donor can relate to and enjoy supporting. And usually the donor will get involved in your organization and participate on a committee or hang out with your program staff or whatever. But if they can enjoy and if they can appreciate what you're doing, that's going to go a long way. What they need is acknowledgement. How many times should you say thank you?
Never ending.
Never ending, yes. Make sure this is, again, what the wealthy donors want. And most donors, as a matter of fact, they want the donation applied directly and only to their desired charity. If you spend it on something else, you can be in big trouble. At a minimum, you'll lose the donor, and there's a possibility the donor will ask for their money back. And they're looking for outcome. And that will be one of the questions that you probably will hear from the Avista or the Inland Northwest Foundation next week. They will basically say, what outcome are you achieving with what you're doing? If you want our money, then you better show me an outcome. Rather than just say, oh, we're doing great and everybody's happy. That doesn't cut it. Okay. Getting a little bit more into this nasty word called profile. Profile. We've got two people coming in next week. We've got Christy Meyer. Christy is from the Avista Foundation. She's a wonderful, wonderful lady. I really like her a lot. I got to know her a bit. And Christy is 44 years old. So I think she would probably fall in the Gen Xers column here. Okay? So if you're presenting to Christy, as you guys are, you need to know what she's like. Now, you've talked to her, I know, you've sent her a letter and so on, but she's very much into diversity. She's also very, very much into inclusion. She's into all the things that we've been kind of dancing around. She's into minority issues. She's into LGBT. In fact, she'll probably be here for that workshop that we're going to do here in another couple of weeks. She's really into a community that is not necessarily just all white, as most of our communities are up here. So she's very much into diversity. She thinks globally. She and I have had quite a few conversations, drinking coffee, talking about geopolitical things. So she's pretty worldly. She's well-read. She knows what she's doing, where she's at. She's also looking much at balance in her life, balance in the community, balance in what you're doing. She's very computer literate, in contrast to me. Informality, you'll find her to be very formal during this presentation or this interview. Take her out for a cup of coffee. You'll swear she's schizophrenic. She's very warm and cuddly, and she can talk about anything and everything, and smiles a lot. So professional versus very casual. And so that's a little bit of her. She does whatever works. She is risk-taking. She right now is living south of Pullman on a family farm. I think it was her parents. She moved down there with permission from Avista. She's a farm girl, and she's very professional. She has an office in Spokane. She She doesn't care about her work hours. You can ask her to do a site visit, and she'll drive up from Pullman or from Spokane and see you at your place. So, what I'm saying is that I think she's a Gen Xer. At 44 years old, this is what she's like. And as you relate this maybe to yourselves or to your parents or whoever, that's kind of a profile. So again, the bottom line is that you are in their world and not necessarily your world when you're talking with them. Relate to the way they have been brought up, to the way they have lived their, or are living their life, and you'll find a connection much quicker and much more valuable in terms of building that relationship that's so important. We had a switch. We had one person from the Inland Northwest Foundation who last night sent me an email saying that she has a situation she cannot get out of, and she apologized for not being able to make the presentation and the next week. And so I asked her if she could get another person by the name of Molly Sanchez. Does anybody know Molly here? Okay. So Molly has agreed to come. Molly is Lauren's supervisor, and she's like number 2 in the foundation. She's a very, very, very bright woman. She's been around for a long time, asks good questions, so I'm very excited I will be very excited to introduce you to Molly Sanchez next Thursday. Molly, I'm guessing, is, I don't know, 50-ish maybe? Would you guess, Cindy? Okay, so where would...
Talk to her. No, I haven't seen her.
Oh, okay. Well, I've met with her a number of times, and she looks like she's 50-ish or so. And I know I look like 21, but wait, why are you laughing? I was serious. You're not. So where would that put Molly?
She's on the cusp.
Between Gen Xer and baby boomer.
Yeah.
She's probably more baby boomer. I don't know her that well, although I've worked with her 2 or 3 times. She has done this for a class before. And I don't know her that well. I do know a few things about her. And I do know that as a baby boomer, from what I know of her, this really fits her, who she is. Also, her generational personality. Anyway, so this is something that when you are looking at soliciting support from a prospective donor, I would suggest you put a chart like this together, maybe erase this, put their name up there, figure out where they are, and then get a handle on how they think, what their value system is, how they grew up, what they believe, and then get into their world when you're talking to them about your organization. Okay, does that make sense? That's why this chart is so important. And again, if you want this information specifically, rather than pass a whole bunch of paper out and destroy a lot of trees, you're welcome to this whole PowerPoint if you want. Just see Leslie, and Leslie has it on her computer, and she will be happy to send it to you. So, planning phase of fund development. Planning, as I mentioned a little earlier, is very, very critical to being successful. Those of you that have raised money, would you raise your hand again? Okay. Would somebody that just raised their hand that has had some experience raising money, can you relate to the first bullet, weave your fundraising goal with the objectives into you hopefully having a strategic master plan? Can you relate to that? Have you gotten that far in raising money? Who here has a strategic master plan for their organization? Carrie? Do you use it, Carrie?
We do. We're in the process of updating it. In fact, we've hired somebody to come in and give us a hand.
Is that
It hasn't been done in a while.
is that handheld? Okay.
I was involved in fundraising for a school I went to. And we put together, in a way, it was a strategic plan of what the school needed. And we focused the fundraising for that. And basically, it was renovating of a huge building, an academic building. And so that was the focus of it. And kind of special though, because everybody went to the same school, so you had that tie to begin with. But then it was the focusing on the donors. And of course, we have the history for the last 50 years, this is the 50th year we've been. We had all of the data for the last 50 years and what people had given. And then we targeted, we profiled and targeted those. And we had a small committee of about a few people that really, first of all, they have a lot of money, and they knew a lot of classmates that have a lot of money. We raised, this is for high school class, we raised over $1 million for that. We raised like $1.6 million.
I would
If we
suggest,
wanted to renovate the building, we had enough for a whole new building.
I would suggest to all of us that there's probably no more important document than that of a master strategic plan. That strategic plan is your guide to the future. It's your job description. It's your path to success. And in our last class, we're going to start on some of the basics of a strategic master plan. And these ladies over here are going to help me with it because they're putting a plan together as we sit here. And so we're going to share that with you. So the strategic master plan is going to be critical. I'm also considering doing a 3-week session on it myself in the fall. This is teaching the strategic plan. But there's going to be homework involved, so I'm going to warn you of that ahead of time if you think it's that. We have also talked about identifying the resources required, and that's going to be very important before you start. Adjust your roles, train your staff, train your board. You may have to adjust job descriptions and what functions that people are involved with or need to be involved with. So there's going to be some organizational adjustment as you move forward with this. We talked about a campaign steering committee last time, did we not? Yeah, okay. Identify a fund development coordinator. That's one person that is going to coordinate the whole campaign. Create a marketing plan. Identify and cultivate prospective lead, key, and past donors. This is really, really important in that before you actually acknowledge your campaign to your community, you should have at least 60% raised already. So when you go to the community and say, we're more than halfway there, we need you to help finish this up. We only have 40% to go. So you can do a lot of stuff before the campaign really is announced to the community that will help you leverage the support that you need from the community. Again, refer to your prospective donors as investors. Prepare facilities for on-site visits. For those of you that are presenting next week, I would strongly advise you to invite the person that's interviewing with you to come to your program, see the facility, talk to your clients, and so on. And that means getting your clients and consumers ready for a meeting. Sitting down with them basically and saying, we've got some special visitors, guests coming in, they're going to be asking a lot of questions. And we need you to be honest and open with them. And they're not going to bite you. They're going to be very friendly. And we need you to be friendly back. Okay. Again, we're not going to spend any time on this. In the PowerPoint, as you can see, are all the questions that most likely will be asked by donors. This first group of questions are asked of people in the community, not your foundation sector. And these are questions that then are generally asked by a foundation. And a foundation person like Christy or Molly can go all kinds of different places. Once they sort of get a handle on where you are and what your needs are, they can go off of any one question and spend a lot of time probing and peeling that onion and getting down to what they really need to have in order to feel comfortable to support your organization. So what I'm suggesting here are questions that are commonly asked. What I'm also suggesting is these are not the only questions that are going to ask by any means. This is one that we'll see how we react this next week. How to be. This is how to be during the interview. Be who you are. Show who you are. Don't be afraid to laugh or to be silly. Let somebody see, let the foundation see below your skin. Know what you're saying, know what you're doing, know all about your organization. Be able to ask or answer a lot of different questions, such as, what is your total budget? Of your total budget, what percentage might be that it goes to staff?
Is there a rule of thumb for that? I mean, what donors don't want to pay for it, staff do.
Foundations will. Yeah, the rule of thumb is 70% for staff.
Really?
Yeah. What is an organization? It's not a building, it's people. It's people to help people. They understand that. If you go to prospect on the street and they ask the question and you say 70%, they'll say, whoa, I'm just paying for somebody's salary. I'm not paying for a program to help your clients and consumers. So that doesn't feel very good. So you need to come up with justification for that. And the justification very simply is that our organization is people, professional people, working with people that need help. You can't hand somebody a book or a pamphlet and say, here, go fix yourself. So be prepared for that. We stressed this last time. Be quiet and listen. It's an ear. This is an ear, as this is here. You don't need to write this down again, Janine.
There'll be a test next week. Right.
Okay, just a minute or two on this. Cultivate those trusting relationships. We talked about matching and challenging. Do you remember the difference between the two? Somebody tell me what a matching gift is.
1 for 1, $1 for matched, $1.
Or it could be 1 for 2 or 1 for 3, whatever you set the match up to be. What's a challenge grant?
You need a certain number from, the investors need a certain number, and you get a certain number from another donor.
Yeah, at the end, it's just the carrot and the stick model.
Or a percentage, you can set it up that way.
You can set it up all kinds of different ways. What I strongly advocate for those of you who are going to be visiting with foundations this next Thursday, is that you ask for a challenge grant. Foundations generally like that better than a matching grant because it stretches you a little bit. It gives hopefully more motivation for you to get their money, for you to get the money first. So the way it works is they'll say, we'll give you this amount, but to get this amount as a lump sum, you need to raise X amount of money from donors that you have not gone to before. And they may stress that. They don't want you to challenge or to meet their challenge by going back to past donors. It really doesn't service anybody well. So it's new donors. Okay. We talked about special events enough. Sponsorships. I find that in doing special events, sponsorships, particularly corporate sponsorships or small business sponsorships, are the best way to make money at a special event. Always look for win-wins. Here's another technique that really works well. The campaign, regardless if it's urgent or not, it is urgent. You need your prospective donors' money in order to meet this horrific need. If it's not met, the world's going to fall apart. Okay? To exaggerate a little bit, or maybe a lot. So you've got to have a sense of urgency to your request.
Bob, can
Yeah.
you quickly just give a definition for what underwriting is versus sponsorship?
Underwriting is a sponsorship. You're underwriting an event, which means you're spending money to support an event, and in return, the donor, prospective donor, will get advertising or marketing for the event, get recognition during the event, might be in the newspaper, might be all over the community. Such and so is underwriting this event, special event. So it's a win-win. You get the money, they get the recognition. And sometimes you can have special events just to recognize people that are contributors or donors or volunteers. I found it really important to do a volunteer recognition event. And I would invite a lot of what might be considered important people to this event to help me thank our donors and our volunteers and those that have contributed in a whole lot of different ways. So, yeah. Connect the donor with the program. Try to merge the donor's interest and efforts and initiative in the program itself, because they're not giving to you necessarily. They're giving to make your program work, okay? And they need to know what that program's all about. So sometimes it's a good idea if the situation warrants itself to connect a donor up with one of your clients. Have them sit down or involve one of the people you're working with in a meeting that you're going to have with this prospective donor. Again, the prospective donor is an investor. We talked about negotiating a payout. There's all kinds of excuses that people come up with, and you can negotiate almost every one of them. Use of perks, in-kind gifting. With the facilities that I have purchased in the past that we would normally have to hire a lot of contractors and specialty people, I would get a lot of people from, let's say, the lumberyard, electricians, plumbers, carpenters, et cetera, that to help build the facilities, and they would make that as a contribution, and of course they would be recognized. So that's another way of being successful with a campaign. Is, basically cash in on what they can give in terms of in-kind services. Simple thank you, acknowledgments, etc. This is always a good idea. involve past donors with staff or board members in making the ask. Because these are people that have already made a contribution. They feel wedded to the organization. They feel as they're investors, and they want other people to invest with them because they want their goal met. And for their goal to be met, they're going to need some other people perhaps to help them do that. And so you can have an investor say, I'm going to challenge the community to whatever. I can give you several examples. One I'm thinking of right offhand is that when back in Colorado, I had RE/MAX challenge the Tillotson agencies for who can get the most money. And what they did is set up a deal where every time a realtor sold a house, they would cash in $100 or give $100 to the organization. Well, then we'd go back to the other real estate office and say, okay, RE/MAX is they just sold 100 houses. So we need you to sell at least 101. And why don't you really challenge them with 200 houses? So you go back and forth. So there's where a challenge can work. Okay. Seven steps to success. It's the phone conversation. It's the letter. It could be an LOI. It's the meeting. And we will have all three of those accomplished next Thursday. This, by the way, is the structure of a letter of intent or a letter of interest called the LOI. This also can be your format and superstructure in which to talk from. And I think those of you who are presenting to foundations may want to follow this. What's your involvement? Why are you doing what you're doing? Why is it important to you, etc. About the project, talk about what it is, about what your organization is all about. What is the need? What's the solution? And what's the donor's role? And of course, tie in their interest. Find out what works for them and works for you. And keep in mind, get into their head, get out of yours. Again, take the donor's lead. 2-on-1 stresses importance. And the 2-on-1 generally would be if you have a foundation person like Christy, for example, who's coming in. Christy's 44 years old. Try to find somebody that's 44 years old or in that category that can relate to her, looking at the chart that we looked at a little bit earlier on core values and interests and so on. And then have somebody else, maybe even more knowledgeable than that person that can relate to Christy, be there as the technical person and give all the specifics that could respond to the questions that the foundation person can ask. Then you've got to decide, go or no go. Is this a time to ask for the contribution? Or is this the time really to say, we hope we've given you enough information that you can think a little bit about it. We'd like to have you come out and do a site visit, talk to some of our board, maybe meet some of the kids or adults that we're working with, and get a better sense. Don't ask for anything there. Wait for that right time. After the meeting, summarize what you heard from the person to the person that's interviewing you. Christy, this is what I heard you say. Okay? Do a follow-up. A handwritten thank you letter is really important. Handwritten, not an email. Handwritten note. Get a special card. If you can make a card, as Leslie does, that's the best way of doing it, because that makes it very, very special. Okay? I don't think I ever got one of those cards from you. No. I'm so sad. I have a birthday coming up in about 6 months.
Start working on it now.
I'll send you an email and let you know. Okay. After the meeting, letter to summarize, in addition to the thank you letter. Stay in touch with them. Who would want to talk to her? Could be interesting. And again, involve them in, if you're doing a kids program, you do a barbecue, invite your donors out, your prospective donors. Let them see this in action in a casual environment where they can just meet people, mingle around, ask questions, get a sense on what you're all about, what you're doing. Keep it in a casual thing. Everybody goes to barbecue, so I don't think there'd be any problem there. I strongly advise you to fill out one of these every time you meet with a donor. If you're anything like me, I will have 3 meetings. I can't remember the first. I can't remember exactly what was said, what I asked, what the donor asked for, etc. So after every time you meet with a prospective donor, fill one of these out. It's really pretty simple. I made this so this thing, 5 minutes maybe, 10 minutes max, if you really have to work at it. 2 pages. With that being said, I happen to have a present for everybody here. Can we pass this around? I'd like you to use these today when we do our role play, which is coming up next. And we will use them when our 2 foundation friends come in next week. And I would ask you to kind of track where they are, get a sense on the quality of the ask, and if you think the gift could be eminent, or what the strategy might be to cultivate that person a little bit more, etc. So this is even a simpler form than this, and it's just a guide. I want to pause here and ask Clark and Donna to share the process they went through with the foundation they're going to be interviewing with, which of course is Molly Sanchez and the Inland Northwest Foundation next week. And why don't you stand up and tell us what you've done so far, and then pass out your LOI, and let's talk a little bit about it.
We have one. Do we need more copies of the LOI?
Yeah, about 30.
Right. Yeah, I didn't know that, Bob.
That's why I asked last week if you had a printer.
We did have that.
Well, the first thing we did is we did a draft LOI, and then we sent it to Bob to review, to look at it, and he gave us a lot of really good tips on the structure and the way that these letters need to be formatted. And then, so then we went back and we redid the letter. And then Clark made contact with Laura.
Laura. So. And it was fairly brief. She just said basically name dropped you. She said that she, oh, we love Bob, and just kind of got her up to speed. I asked her if I could send her a letter describing our expansion, our project. She said yes. I didn't hear back from her until the other day. I contacted her, and she said she'd received the letter and was excited to talk to us. And then she got back and said that she can't make it to this next class, so that she was going to have her supervisor step in and interview.
So let me ask you, should we reach out to Molly?
She already has it.
Huh?
She has it.
She would like that?
She has it.
No, I mean, should we reach out with a phone call to Molly?
I would,
Yeah?
but she has your letter.
Is there a way when we take a break, we can copy these off? Or copy this off?
Why don't you just give us the essence of what you have there?
Okay. And so one of the things that you recommended is that we come across with enthusiasm. So we wrote, the first paragraph talks about our enthusiasm for our project. Then we talk more about the mission of Trinity Group Homes. We serve adults with persistent mental health challenges. We talk about how we stand alone as the only semi-independent living environment for those with mental health challenges. We talk about collaboration with the mental health court, with the hospitals, with probation officers, with community-based resource, community-based treatment providers. We talked about what we have currently and then what we want to do to expand, and went into we're opening up a demographic where we're going from a model where all of our residents are in a group home and they're going into, we have an opportunity to expand into having studio apartments, which changes the, what I want to say, the dynamics of their living situation, where a lot of people have a hard time living with other people. They get to have their own space and their own kitchen.
And it also, there is nothing that we're aware of that really allows people that have these mental health challenges to live in a married couples scenario. So it expands the people that we can help. So we also talked about that in the letter. We talked about, the cost of Trinity versus the cost of incarceration, the cost of being in state hospital, the cost of, all of these different things. That's the win-win, is that the clients and the residents that we help serve win, but it also helps with the community. None of our stuff is funded through tax dollars either. It's all through the way that the residents pay, the way our program's structured, the residents pay rent, and then we also, get donations to supplement so we can do like more cool things with our life skills programming. So then the last part of the letter is, hey, a gift of $23,000 at furnishing each one of these rooms, $14,000 a piece or $1,400 a piece, would go really far in giving these people a really nice living environment. And that's what we're asking for. We're asking for money to furnish each of these apartments because right now they're empty when people that are in transitional housing move out. Our transitional housing building has lost their grant. Their federal grant is done. So rather than reapply for federal money, St. Vincent's has decided to give this to Trinity to expand our program. So.
Good. That's a good summary of what you have. Again, it's a structured format that foundations are used to. It's one that I find works very, very well. It starts out with an introduction with some enthusiasm. Read your first paragraph, would you?
Okay. Dear Mrs. Hassan, it is with great enthusiasm that Trinity Group Homes, a program in St. Vincent de Paul, North Idaho, TGH, 501c3, would like to tell you about exciting changes on the horizon that will impact the issue of homelessness for the mentally ill in North Idaho.
That's done very, very well. You guys did a great job on that. So he hit on a couple, or they hit on a couple things right off. It's a 501c3. That's a requirement. You described a little bit about where you are, what you're doing, what you're asking for. Then your second paragraph, you went into the program without a lot of specific stuff that would bore them to death. Then you went into the problem. You went into the solution being whatever it is, a grant to cover the renovation or the whatever of the individual rooms that you're putting together, and you were very specific in what you were looking for. You're asking for less than what they could give. Their grants will go up to $35,000, and you're asking for 23, I believe, as I recall from last week. You mentioned some really important things in your paragraph, which is the second paragraph. You talked about the organization being unduplicated or the sole provider working with a specific clientele. You referred to a couple other things that made you very special, unique, and different from anybody else that's out there. And that's really important. So, and you talked about your clients being backed up essentially in terms of the waiting list and so on and so forth. So that shows an impending need. It also shows that if you weren't here, the community would be much more in crisis than it is now, and there's no one else to pick up the pieces. So you put in there exactly what's needed to tease their interest. Now you need to reinforce that, of course, with answering questions. So when Molly comes in, she'll have read this letter, and she will then ask questions off of this. So be prepared for that. Okay. So we're going to role play in here in just a minute, but I want to ask Cindy to review what she's done again in terms of the process. And do you have things you can pass out?
One of the, so for, would you mind?
Can you come up here, Cindy,
Oh, yeah,
please?
all right. So similar, Howard said to write an LOI, and over the phone had given a list of things to hit, which looks very similar to the slide here, and had specifically said to use the phrase, well, I wrote it down, that you're enthusiastic about your program. And I don't normally put that in, so that was kind of fun to try to work in and have that sound like me still. When I went to write, then, and I know my program, I love my program, but I just felt like, I think I'm used to writing grants where they're asking questions and not just having a letter to write, to just share my passion, come join. And so it was a little bit terrifying to just look at the screen and go, I gotta make something great. And so I had Googled LOIs, and that gave a template and an example. I had those lined up, and then mine as well, and then started writing mine. And that helped a lot. I just needed to get some verbiage to see how this is all going to come together without giving too much information, because that's something that I know that I do. So again, a one-page letter was also a huge task for me to try to be concise enough with that. And so yeah, I introduced the mission of the program. I think you specifically said don't describe the program, but share what you're about, and then what you're asking for, and how they can help with it. Again, what the amount is, and...
Why don't you read it? It's short enough. Do you mind reading the LOI?
No. Dear Christine, Family Promise of North Idaho, FPNI enthusiastically approaches the Avista Foundation to fund a van driver position in the amount of $5,000 in support of the homeless children and families we shelter and serve. We provide meals and overnight shelter for 3 families at a time via a network of host congregations and their volunteers. The Day Center is a family-friendly place to work towards sustainability goals with the guidance of a case manager. 75% of our families graduate into housing within the 90-day program. FPNI is a 501c3 celebrating 9 years of housing children and their families. Our van is currently driven by a volunteer van pool. The recruitment, training, and coordination are labor-intensive and unsustainable for our staff and volunteers. Guest families travel from the host congregation to the Day Center at 7 a.m. each morning and leave the Day Center to travel to the host congregation each evening at 5 p.m. Having a reliable, trained van driver will provide structure and sustainability for our vulnerable population. It will provide FPNI 30 hours of skilled volunteer and staff time to put towards strengthening the organization in other ways. While this request is simple, the impact is far-reaching in relation to the direct service the van driver provides our guest families. The indirect impact is a stronger network that is positioned to expand additional programs and opportunities for guest families and added time to develop funds and donors. $5,000 allows the Avista Foundation to provide the manpower for families who do not have reliable transportation to enter Family Promise, or FPNI. $5,000 provides 55 hours of van transportation. This part-time position pays $9 per hour and averages 15 hours per week. Family Promise pays the taxes and insurance for this position. The driver's name badge will say, "Sponsored by the Avista Foundation," including your logo. Family Promise will recognize the Avista Foundation in the newspaper, on Facebook, on our website, our event flyers, and in our newsletter. Thank you for considering this opportunity to stabilize families in shelter. I encourage you to come tour Family Promise of North Idaho this April to see more fully what we do, how we do it, and what your partnership with Family Promise will do for our vulnerable populations in reducing poverty and strengthening families. Respectfully yours, Cindy Wood.
I think that pulls heartstrings. It's kind of like saving puppies, you know? Yeah. So do we get the idea of the letter of interest? If a person reads this, if a foundation or a corporation reads this, this summarizes exactly what you're looking for, who you are, what the problem is, what the solution is, and what their involvement could be, should they choose to jump into this. So that's what you're looking for. So very, very nice job doing it, Cindy. Very good. Thank you. It's 20 after right now. Can we take a 5-minute break? And we're going to come back and we're going to do a role play with Trinity Group Homes. Okay? Again, you have this tracking the interview. As you can see, it's pretty self-explanatory. Name of the foundation, the name of the person that you're going to be interviewing with, and their position. The type of gift that's being requested, it could be a program. A program usually it means staff. It could mean just anything dealing with the programmatic issues that you have within your organization. Operating means it's pretty much money that can go into anything from heating oil to paper clips to whatever. Endowment is what we talked a little bit about last week. It could be endowment could be a will. It could be a charitable remainder trust. It's money that's put aside for a rainy day or for capital construction later on or for a major project that may be coming up. Unrestricted means that it can go for anything you need. Unrestricted is probably the best source of income because you can use it however you want, but it's the most difficult to get because nobody just wants to give you money and will say, go buy what you want, what you need. They want to know exactly what they're paying for. So that's a little bit more difficult. The asking amount, get that down there. Likelihood of being awarded the grant. You can get some practice today when we do the interview up here. And let us know if you think the grant might be imminent, if the person is interested enough to look forward to supporting the organization. Key points made by the foundation. What are they asking? What are they suggesting? Maybe some of the key questions they're asking will give you a clue as to what they're looking at. They may ask you for that strategic master plan. That's a big, strong clue. You better have a plan. Recommendations, your recommendations for soliciting a gift. For soliciting staff and board member. What would be your strategy and next steps if you were soliciting this foundation? So put yourself in the shoes of the people that are being interviewed by the foundation. And as you do that, try to think through, what would you do? How would you pursue this? How would you look at cultivating these people or this foundation? What do I need to do to convince them that we are special, we are unique, and that our community would have a strong advantage with us here, but a big disadvantage if we weren't here? So design a strategy around that. The strategy could be staying in touch with them, inviting them to special events, inviting them to come out to your organization for whatever, or maybe to a barbecue, as we had a little bit earlier with the kids. Find any way and every way you can to try to stay in touch without annoying them or bothering them, okay? Because everybody else does that. So you got to kind of put the whole thing on balance. Does that make sense? Okay. We're going to do an interview here. Fill out the form and get used to it because we're going to probably do this next Thursday as well. We're going to meet in my office here. Okay? So come on in.
Molly? Are you going to be Molly?
I will be Molly, yes. Hi, Donna. It's good to meet you, too. Hi, how are you?
Good question.
Yeah. We talked on the phone, as I recall.
Yes, briefly.
Yeah, and I read your letter, and I have some interest in talking with you. And have you gone on the internet to check us out, what we give to, how we give, and so on and so forth?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so you know what our criteria is and the process and so on and so forth. Okay, and I appreciate the call. So here we are. Let's go forward with it. Give me some idea what you're doing and where you're going with your project.
So right now, we serve 33 individuals with persistent mental health issues, persistent mental illness. And we have 4 different locations. We have 3 duplexes and 1 house with seven individuals in the former care home. So and it's in a group home setting. So each person has their own locker room. They share a kitchen. They share a living room. They learn to engage and communicate with each other. And basically, we have an opportunity we have a facility with 16 studio apartments that's opening in October. And we have the opportunity to house people, a new demographic of people that are either couples or individuals that want their own studio apartment. So it's kind of it can be a graduated part of our program, moving more towards independent living for people to move, or it can be just a better situation for people having their own place.
I see. Okay, so how many facilities do you have right now?
Four different facilities.
And this will be a 5th?
This will be the 5th. Yep, and it's going to give us at least 16, the ability to serve at least 16 more people per year, upwards of 30 to 40.
Okay, going forward 5 years from now, what is it going to look like? What's Trinity Group Homes going to look like?
Well, I mean, I see things expanding because it's been a successful model. We have, we're not taxed, we don't require a lot of support with taxpayers or government subsidies. I think we have safe, affordable housing that people are able to afford on their own or with SSI or SSDI benefits. So I think with community support, we're going to last. And most likely expand again to another house. There's been talk of moving north to Sandpoint. It's still preliminary. This is really our first opportunity in the last 2 years to expand. So we'll see how this one goes.
So Bob, we're a standalone.
Not Molly.
I'm sorry, Molly. We are standalone in terms of being the only facility that provides life skills training and socialization for these people that have social anxiety and things like that, and self-esteem building, and giving them the toolbox they need to move through our program and into independent living. That's our goal. Some of them will not. Some of them have found their place where they need to be in society to remain off of the streets, and that's fine too. But the model works, and it's standalone because it works. And we have people that have successfully graduated. We have people that are employed now. We have people going to college. So yeah, in 5 years we should have more facilities. We should have more group homes and hopefully more studio apartments.
Do you have a plan to get there? Do you have a strategic plan in place that will allow you to foresee the kinds of things that would be required for you to grow?
We need to work on that more. I think the plan, just having this expansion opportunity in the next few months, is in the first part of the plan, but we need to, I think developing a strategic master plan is something that we need to work on.
Yeah, that's going to be really important. We may require that even before we consider a grant, so we need to know that. I don't know that it'll stand in the way, because I work with a couple committees, and I don't make the decisions totally by myself, but I take it to a committee, and they make a decision based upon the probability, for example, of you doing a strategic master plan. But what we're really looking for is your projected growth and how you're going to pay for it, and how sustainable it's going to be. We've had experience with organizations that will ask us for money to support some really, really wonderful projects, only to find out 2 years later that they're out of business because they didn't plan for a sustainable income to support that, or even to grow. And I think it's my experience that if you don't grow, you're going to die, because somebody else is going to come along with the money and with the plan and be able to move forward and basically take over what you're doing. So,
Well, Trinity Group Homes have been in existence since 1979. Right now, as of 2015, they are under the umbrella of St. Vincent de Paul.
okay.
St. Vincent de Paul provides structure and administrative support, and St. Vincent de Paul will also be assisting with the strategic plan, because our strategic plan is part of St. Vincent de Paul's strategic master plan in terms of expansion and growth. The program is self-sustainable right now. The money that is brought in through rent covers our operational budget. In terms of expansion and growth, we will be looking for funding sources to help furnish the homes that we buy. But the St. Vincent de Paul's budget and the assistance with the budget will help us be able to buy buildings.
We're a very efficient organization. Our residents are able to be housed at about $20 or less a day. So there's sustainability built into that, being a financially efficient organization.
Well, I'm familiar with St. Vincent de Paul, and they're a pretty sustainable organization. If you're under their umbrella, you'd probably be better off there at this point in time than flying on your own with an ambition of growing and not knowing where the income is really going to come from. So that's going to be to your advantage at this point in time. How well does the Board of Directors of St. Vincent de Paul understand Trinity Group Homes and participate in it, or do you have a chance to talk with them? Do they visit with you? Do you go to board meetings, etc.?
We're generating more of a relationship with the housing subcommittee, the housing board. John Bruni has met with us, and we're presenting to them in May. So there really has been. We're actually presenting again to the second time now to the whole organization. Let's see, on the 27th. And so it's been a process to educate. Part of being involved, I've been there since through the transition, and it's been a process of educating St. Vincent's as to what exactly we do. So it's a work in progress.
Clark, how big is your staff?
You're looking at
We're
it.
looking at most of it. Yeah, we have a supervisor that kind of oversees us, but we really run the show. We write the grants. We provide for one thing, we're also looking to pay at least a half part-time staff with this expansion, if not a three-quarter time or a full-time staff.
And that'll be part of the budget. That'll be budget.
How about volunteers? What do you have there?
Right now, we have a student from NIC who did a brief internship with us and really fell in love with the program. So now he's deciding to
Good.
continue volunteering and to stay with it. And so he's 3 days a week. He comes in a few hours, 3 days a week. And then last summer, we had an intern who just went back and finished her master's degree. She'll be done with her master's degree in June.
Okay.
She will probably become a paid staff when the expansion happens.
So you have 5 facilities with a sixth one on the drawing board, and 2 of you running 6 facilities. How do you do it?
Well, there'll be 3.
All three.
volunteer. 3 plus a
Or even if you have 5, how do you cover all the bases with 6 facilities?
very tight scheduling.
Yeah.
It's a semi-independent model. There's not staff in facilities at all times. We do a daily wellness check, and we do structured activities with our residents. We do a game night where they prepare food for each other and sit and play and socialize in a non-judgmental environment.
Okay.
And we do life skills classes where we bring in community members. A lot of what we do is transporting to get to these different activities. We're partnering with iCare right now to do a women's self-care group for some of our female residents.
Yeah.
So we give them opportunities. Not all of the residents participate in every activity. And it's a very tight schedule. And we do it every night, and we follow it the next day.
A key component of training is that we have community-based support. So each resident has their own treatment team. And so we partner with agencies such as Alliance or Heritage Health or Monarch Mental Health or ACEs, and we advocate that they get as many resources as possible. So if there's a resident in crisis, we have a community-based support team around, that's around the clock support. So
They have therapists, they have CBRS, they have peer support.
Okay, so these other organizations you're collaborating with or partnering with come in, do what they need to do on a regular basis. I'm going to get back to the volunteer piece. If you had a dozen volunteers, would you have things for them to do?
it's
Probably not. Probably doesn't take that many.
Yeah, the other thing is the confidentiality piece too. We want to have people that are at least in training in mental health, to people that are students or graduate students, and so it's.
Okay. How do you engage with the community?
We have, well, as I said, we have residents that are in college. We have so we have banks that will come in and do a budgeting class. We have a pharmacy that's going to come in and do a mental health wellness class based on supplements. We have housing organizations. We have volunteers that do come in and lead groups sometimes, life skills groups. We take our residents places. We take them to the farmers market.
Okay.
There is plans of maybe even having a booth at the farmers market this year with the vegetables they grow in their garden boxes that we got a grant for last year. And we get them out as much as we can, because one of the things that they're afraid of is being stigmatized. So the more positive contact they have with community members, the more the community sees them as people and the more they feel safe.
Do your neighbors know you very well?
Some
Do you do any outreach? Do you go out and do presentations to civic organizations, faith groups, etc.?
We do. We present, yeah. We'd be happy to present to your foundation too. So.
And you would be more than welcome to come and visit, tour a facility.
I might
Come to a game night and have dinner.
I might like to
One of
do
the
that.
residents cooks.
How's the food?
It varies.
Who does the cooking?
The residents.
Residents cook.
Yeah. Usually there's one that leads and then a couple others that will prep cook.
They plan the menu, they research it, they research the ingredients, they get a shopping list together, we take them shopping, they budget it, they stay on their budget, they have to take their little cell phone calculators out while we're sipping one, and they go back and cook it and serve it.
So what you're really looking at, as I understand it, is some self-sufficiency with your residents. You want to get them into some independent living situation where they don't need to fall back to the Trinity Group homes or to the program that you're offering. So they're on their own, cooking, working, and so on and so forth. Do you work with employers or with people in the community that find them jobs or hire these people?
We work with Jackie Schneider at Vogue Rehab. She comes out at least once a year and presents, and we get our residents networked. And a lot of times our residents are really independent, and they get things taken care of on their own with Vogue Rehab and or the Department of Labor. But we're there to help provide a bridge for them.
And we have residents who've gone through TESH, and we've had residents that are involved with Ability Works. And yeah, like Park said, a lot of them just go to Department of Labor. We have a really high functioning resident that's in an IC right now, and she's going to go to the job fair at the Workforce Training Center in June. She's already like, can I get a ride? So
Yeah. How do you know when you're successful? Or how do you measure success?
Well, couple things, like we have no minimum or maximum length of stay, so if somebody stays stable for long periods of time, residents that are longer term, or residents that transition successfully into a lower, less restricted environment, their own apartment, maybe a group home that's not structured, that doesn't have structured supports. So then transitioning into the community on their own, or getting an apartment together, that's generally successfully completing, like a specialty court program while they're in our program, and then moving on to their own independent living.
Is there something you could show me as to the success that you've had?
Like statistics?
Yes.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay, and that would show me the numbers of people that have been successful and those that perhaps have not, that have fallen out of the program. Okay.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. And do you have the means to do the repair, program repair that might be required if you find something that's lacking within the program to make it more successful?
You mean to adjust the programming?
Yes.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Okay. How do you do that?
Our program is Carbon Mercury.
Yeah.
We've been given full latitude to change and to modify, and it may not be that way in 10 years, but right now, since the acquisition just happened a year and a half ago, we've pretty much been given free rein to change it. And we see that, and we evaluate it. We evaluate it daily.
Yeah.
And if we see something that's not working with one of the residents, and we say, you know what, it's not okay, they're starting to isolate again, we need to get this one out of the room, we need to get here to this.
Yeah.
Or this group isn't working for this group of our residents, we need to change this, we need to get something different, and that kind of thing.
I assume that the board you work with is the board of St. Vincent de Paul, and you don't have a specific board that you work with. Have you thought about an advisory board, which is not a board of directors, but a board of people that can offer many things, maybe some good advice, some technical assistance, helping you with other things. In other words, involving the community more intimately with the organization in a helpful way. Have you thought about doing something like that?
I know when there was the acquisition first happened, there was talk about an advisory board, and we never, I didn't hear anything more, so it's something that we can pursue. There are, I can think of one person right off the bat that was on the board before that would be a good advisory board member.
Okay. So who would start the advisory board? Would you guys, you say you have the autonomy to make changes and do things?
We would have to present it to St. Vincent's.
Okay.
Bringing outside people and talk about how one of their programs is wrong. This is one of their programs.
Yeah.
We would just need to talk to that board first. Maybe we can totally get a plan together.
When we have weekly meetings, we can work on
We
it.
do have weekly meetings with our
Directors.
executive director.
Yeah, and I think that's something to consider. It would give you that much more support, and it could be very, very helpful if you get the right people. Otherwise, it would make a lot more work for you. It would be much more difficult to do what you're doing. So it's something to consider. Again, so moving forward, you're looking at that sixth facility. You pretty much have that nailed down at this point in time and committed to? Mm-hmm. Okay, because if we were to invest in this facility, we'd want to make sure that our money is going to be going into a facility that is for sure going to happen versus not happen and then that money float away or go somewhere else.
Well, St. Vincent's owns the
Okay.
It was being used for transitional housing for families on the HUD grant.
Okay.
That grant is gone October 30th. So yes, we have been told very clearly to the point where we're planning room structures and furnishing, that will be Trinity.
If we were to award a grant to Trinity, I would assume the funds would go into the general hopper with a specific line item for Trinity? Or do you have a,
Independent budgets.
Yeah, it would go specifically
to Trinity?
to Trinity.
For a specific-
For a specific, yeah.
So do you have a budget with a lot of line items that
We
you?
do.
We do.
Okay, so you would see that money float into that line item in your own Trinity's budget?
Yes.
Okay, it wouldn't be diluted or go elsewhere, percentage go elsewhere?
No.
No, it would stay at Trinity. We have an overall 180 budget, and then we have a budget for each program, each property. And this
Okay.
would be the name of it will be, this will be the transitional part 2
Yeah.
budget. And there'll be line items for that specific program.
Okay,
that specific
so there's be 6 different budgets, each with different line items, and you have the authority to use the money within those line items for those budgets to be applied towards where the donor wants it to go, or where you feel when you have money that's undesignated to go into areas that you think need some help.
The money will go where we are soliciting the funds for. If we're asking your organization to give us money for furnishing, then that's where the money will be spent to furnish these apartments.
Okay, and you would be keeping receipts and doing the final reports to us and interim reports and that kind of thing. to us
Absolutely.
now. If I wanted to visit, is there somebody I would call to set that up?
Call the other one, yeah, you can call me.
Okay, okay. Would I have the opportunity to sit down and talk with some of your clients?
Oh, sure. We can take you out to any one of the properties and you can meet them. You can see the existing facilities. You can see the facility that's going to be what we're asking for the funding for.
So each facility has its own meal preparation, and so I can theoretically go to 6 different buildings and pick the best lunch. Right.
Yeah, they
Okay.
cook independently, so.
So when this opens, you can go to 16 different ones.
If I was hungry, I can go to all of
You
them.
can go to all of them.
Oh, boy, that's all I need. Well, let me pause. Are there any questions you might have for me representing the Inland Northwest Foundation?
Is it a priority of the Inland Northwest Community Foundation to support housing, and how much is to support housing for people with mental illness and that demographic? Is there, what
Well,
level of interest?
You might
have
want to go back and read our criteria. It's very well defined on the internet. We're in categories, and you'd have to put, it might be community building, for example. So pick the category that works best for you and go for that. If you have a question, let me know, because it may cross over into some other areas as well. We're pretty structured, and we're pretty structured because we have so many requests, and it's kind of by the book type of thing. We don't have a lot of flexibility in terms of taking anything outside of our structure, if you will, because we get too bogged down with so many requests, and it just doesn't work very well.
Well, we saw that one of the things that you do a lot for the food insecure. There's a lot of money that goes to community food banks and things like that.
Yes.
So, you're aware of the population we deal with. If these people were in Trinity, a lot of them would be homeless. So I think that you're simpatico to what we do and the population we serve.
I agree with you. I think we are, but tighten it down a little bit with the structure of what we're asking for. And zero in on that and wordsmith things around the criteria. That make it real, make it straight and honest, and we'll take a look at that. So, do you have any more questions for me?
So it was nice to spend some time.
Yeah, we appreciate your time.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate what you're doing in the community. I see that Trinity offers a service being unduplicated that is vitally needed and important, and your uniqueness, I think, being the sole organization dealing with this population, looking at the future and growing it and figuring out a way of doing it is all positive, but you need that roadmap. So I would get busy on that strategic master plan. The University of Idaho is going to be probably doing a workshop for 3 days next fall, and you might want to sign up for that. And So just kind of look at the website from time to time and see when it's going to be offered. So I think that can be important to you, or hire a consultant or something to come in and work with you in that regard.
Well, we know Bob Over. Are you familiar with Mr. Over? He usually lets us know when there's going to be those kind of classes.
If he's not in Panama or Costa Rica, yes. I hear rumors.
Yeah, me too.
So, yeah, it's very, very nice meeting you. I would advise you to get busy on some of the things I've suggested. And call me if you have any questions. I would like to come and do a site visit, although it's not necessarily something that the Inland Northwest Foundation does. And again, because of time constraints and trying to keep our staff costs at a minimum so we can put more money out into the community and do some community building. So all of that is really important to us. So let's just figure out how to work best together, and we want to be a help to you. And down the road, let's look at a proposal. And if you want to submit one now, you're welcome to do that. It could be, you could have a problem with the committee not taking it because of the strategic plan. On the other hand, I know they've overlooked that on a number of other cases. So you might take a shot at it. You can only submit a proposal one time a year. So if you submit it now, it's turned down, you have to wait for a year. But that might be okay because it gives you time to put the plan together. You come back in a year with the plan, and perhaps some of the same committee people will be on the same committee and will be familiar with you and ready to go.
Well, I have a feeling the same business has a strategic plan. We just need to get access to it.
Okay.
And we'll be prepared for that.
Okay, that's great. Well, you guys are doing great things, so thank you very much, and good job, guys. Clark, good job. Thank you, Donna. So what do you think? How'd they do? I think they did very, very well.
I think you guys did awesome. The one thing I would recommend is one question at the end. So when would you like to tour our facility? Let's try to schedule it right then.
Yeah.
That was a great job, though.
When you didn't have a name for the building, it could have been the Maui building.
Hey, Molly. We put one in for Kiwanis to do the commercial kitchen for this building. We're going to call it the Kiwanis Kitchen.
Yeah.
Name that there. We should call this the Inland Northwest Building.
When I was back in Colorado, I went to a guy who was starting a business selling cabinets, high-end cabinets, and I was building a facility there. And I went to him, and he furnished the whole kitchen with very, very fancy cabinets, very fancy cabinets. And all he asked is when somebody goes into the kitchen that his business be recognized. And so you can do things like that, in-kind things, as you put the building together, whether it be furniture or remodeling a kitchen or whatever you need. Find somebody maybe that's already doing business with St. Vincent de Paul, provider, if you will, and say this is your opportunity to help Trinity Group Homes, and what you have been we have been paying you to do, you wouldn't say it this way, but we've been working with you and you've been providing us services and products and stuff. Now we have a project that's really important. We'd like to invite you to participate with Trinity. So you might want to consider the in-kind things that can happen. And I find that most people that are in the building trades are more than willing to do something for you, whether it's actual work or product or whatever, and but they want recognition and some advertising for it. So as you develop all this in your new facility, you might want to consider that. So very nice job, you guys. Thank you.
So if you're in this interview and they don't ask that question, if Molly doesn't say, well, how will we be recognized?
She may not. She may
Throw
not.
that in there somehow?
You can. You can say, with your permission, we would certainly like to recognize your foundation for its contribution to our community. And she might say anything from that's not important, which is probably what she'll say, to we need to get permission to put our name up in anything you have. See, what they're going to be looking for is working with an organization, a nonprofit, that has a reputation of being high quality. Because if you guys are not high quality and you run into trouble, guess who gets dragged down with you? So that's going to be really important. So a couple personal comments. Clark, your eye contact was really good, but need to smile more and laugh more. You can take Donna's lead on that. She's pretty funny. I mean that in a positive way.
I mean that in the nicest way.
Yeah. And just be more casual, be loose, be who you are, and I know who you are. So just be who you are. That's great. So nice job. Okay, I would like to finish the hour by going through the nonprofit business relationship. The businesses in our community here, I understand, tend to be fairly generous. I know they don't give a lot, but I know they give to many different causes. So it means you might have to work a little bit harder to accumulate the amount of money that you want from a number of businesses as opposed to just maybe one or two. So let me get going with this, and this is going to be fairly brief. We've already talked about the giving patterns and where Idaho is in the scheme of the 50 states, which is like number 3. The tired donor. You might get this a fair amount. And it's really an opportunity. It's not a negative. We can't give to everyone. Everybody comes to our door every week, and now here you are. We only have so much money. We need to put food on our table. Business is simply not that good. Your organization does not fit our mission. These are common excuses. Okay? I've heard these 1,000 times. We've exhausted our charitable dollars this year. We gave to your organization through United Way. Let's address these. We can't give to everyone. How would you address that? Tell me.
Don't just give back.
I'm sorry, Whitney?
I said, then don't just give back.
That's a thought. I don't think it'd go very far, but yeah. What else? What else can you say? What else can you do?
You give them other options. So if you can't give money, maybe they can put up a donation jar, or maybe they can do a coupon, or something to offer the public that would also benefit themselves as well.
Exactly. Exactly.
Come up with a raffle basket.
Everybody has a need to give. Go back to the premises. Second premise is that people give to people, okay? Which means to me that you may not have a strong enough relationship. Does that make sense? A business is simply not that good. How would you respond to that?
Butter them up a little bit, tell them how valuable they are and how they contribute to the community.
Yeah, I say that a little bit with a little bit of hesitation. There's another way of doing it, though.
What about what you're offering?
Yes, keep talking.
The advertising or the exchange of shared network.
Let us help you with your businesses, and this is what we can do. We know that for your company to put out an ad in a paper is going to cost you $500 for 4 days during the month. We'll put you in our newsletter. We'll recognize you at a special event. We'll give you basically $10,000 worth of free marketing. And people are going to see that you are a charitable organization. They're going to want to cater to you. In fact, the National Review, I think is the name of the magazine, comes out every year with a statistic. And the last one I heard is that for every dollar, and I might even have it in this slideshow, for every dollar that they give, for every dollar they give to a nonprofit, they make $6 or $7 in terms of increased business, because people want to cater to businesses that help charity and help their community, which helps everybody, including the person that you're talking with. So, yeah, that's an answer. You can say, let us help you make your business better. Your organization does not fit our mission. I've heard that a number of times. And the way of getting around that basically is to build a relationship. Because missions, by and large, it's not always true. Missions of an organization, a for-profit, small business, whatever. Now we're talking small business mostly in this presentation. They will take a grant proposal or a letter if they know you well enough, and they will just make it fit their mission. I've been able to secure a lot of money from organizations that we don't fit their mission, but they make it work. Because there's flexibility and there's ways of getting around it, but it all comes back to having that relationship. We've exhausted our charitable dollars this year, so we get back to, how about next year? Can we start working towards next year? Or let's negotiate something. A little bit this year, a little bit next year, and how about a 3-year plan? My sense is that you're wanting to support our organization because you realize how important we are to the community. Again, before you even start that conversation, have a relationship. We gave to your organization through United Way. I've heard that a lot. And your response there would be what?
We don't go through United Way. What are you talking about?
United what?
Congratulations for doing that.
That's right.
Give me an alternative.
Yes, that's exactly right. Say good for you, because United Way is an important organization. You're giving to a great charity. Don't put United Way down at all. But they give up to a lot of charities, but they don't have a lot of money to give to any one charity. Our goal is this: it doesn't come out of United Way money. United Way money that we do receive goes into a different area designated by them. It could be program, it could be something else. So we need investors to support specific projects. So go in with a specific project as opposed to you just want money. Go in with a specific project, and that will help you a lot. Okay, does that make sense? All of these necessitate having a relationship with the business that you're going to. As I put here, all of the above may be true, but realize that some newer businesses don't understand the value of supporting a well-respected nonprofit. So you need to educate them, basically. This is what we can do for you. This is what we need. You essentially can be a hero and get a lot of free marketing. We will support you, but we need your help. So we're looking for a win-win. Okay. I mentioned this for every dollar given. There's a restaurant called Carver's. It's in Durango. Bill Carver has built his business upon charitable giving to nonprofit organizations. He has a thriving business. There are 450, 500 nonprofits in this little small town in southwestern Colorado in the mountains, and the businesses there are hit pretty hard. But those businesses that cater to nonprofits are well known by the community. The community then supports those organizations that support nonprofits. So that's an argument in itself. It encourages socially responsible giving. That's not an argument you can necessarily give to an organization. Like, don't you want to be socially responsible? I think that would turn some people off. Unites employees with common cause and purpose. That leads me up to something else here. Build relationships with key staff of the partnering business. Sometimes it's better not to go to the owner of a business. Let's say a business has 15, 20 employees, but start catering to that business. And with Carver's, for example, go have breakfast a couple, 3 times a week. Get to know the people that are serving you. Get to know the bartender. Get to know the manager. Build that relationship up to the point where you're inviting these people to special events or to some special thing that you're having with your organization. Those people will ultimately go to the owner of the of the establishment, and then you will have access to that owner, because you can go to the owner and say, you know, this is what we're looking for, and I think we could help you with marketing, but we certainly need your help to build this new facility or to do capital campaign for whatever. And he'll say, yeah, I've heard about you through, or she will say, I've heard about you through our employees, and I understand they've been involved with you for some time. And you say, yeah, that's right, and we'd love to have you involved as well. And so adopt us. You know? Let's work together here. Connect your organization's credibility and activities with your partnering businesses, marketing tools, but don't compromise integrity. When you do a campaign, whether you're looking for operating or program or whatever, and you've got flyers that are going out and marketing material that's going out, put your sponsors or your donors' names on that with their logo. That will go a long way, because if you're reaching out a whole lot, and that's one reason I asked you guys what your reach is in the community. If it's limited to only businesses, civic organizations, etc., you may be limiting yourself from the community being really aware of what you're doing. If you've got, let's say, in a square mile, maybe you have 150 houses or something like that. They should all know who you are. You should be waltzing them, whether you want their money or not. Let them know who you are, because you're wanting to build up that recognition. Okay. Negotiate a supporting business arrangement. That's when you can talk about spreading your contribution out or doing a challenge grant. You both work off each other's credibility, the nonprofit and the business. I mentioned the employees, the partnering business organizations activities. Invite them to all kinds of things. Strategies. Build relationships with the key staff through partnering business. Do businesses with partnering businesses. Connect your organization's credibility and activities with your partnering businesses' marketing tools, but don't compromise integrity. Integrity is something that you have to figure out what that means to you. I know of an organization in Denver that refused to take a whole bunch of money from Coors Brewery, which I thought was crazy. But they say, we don't believe in alcohol. I said, well, that's fine, but a lot of people drink beer. And these are the people you want to get to, especially when they drink a lot of beer. So they turned down I think it was a $40,000 or $45,000 grant because they didn't want to be seen as catering to an organization that kills people on the highway with drinking. But, you know, that's where they are. When I built a facility in Golden, which is where Coors Brewery is, I got $500,000 for it. We were right next to them, and so that really helped as well. And so define what is good for, you know, ethically for your organization, and how is it going to present itself to the community. Negotiate a supportive business arrangement. Involve employees of the partnering business in your organization's activities. We talked about that. Products. You can ask for heating fuel and all kinds of stuff. Donated space is pretty easy to get, particularly if there's a lot of empty space, vacancies in your neighborhood. You need some extra space for offices, or program, or whatever, and they could write it off on their taxes. Technical assistance. It is real easy to get lawyers and accountants and other people to help you with things that you would normally have to pay for. So go for that. Some organizations may not have the money, but they can say, I can loan you our CPA for 2 hours a week for the next 6 or 7 weeks. And if you need a CPA to do your books or clean something up, then you've got some free stuff, and that frees up your money to be used for other things. It's pretty easy to get legal counsel. employee assignments paid for. A lot of organizations, particularly larger ones, can assign somebody from their organization to your organization to help you with whatever. And I used the example of an accountant. Do co-marketing together. You're looking for endorsements, public advocacy, and networking with other sources of support for your nonprofit. So the opportunities out there are really limitless to go for. So thank you. Any questions on the business-nonprofit relationship? Businesses can be really, yes, Cindy.
What you're just
Bless
talking
you.
about, you kept specifically referencing legal counsel and accountants and the easiness to be able to work with them. And I'll say that's been our biggest challenge since day one. But I think I see what's happening is that we're going to the individual, asking them to donate time to us, and you're saying
Go to the company.
leverage that relationship. That someone may give that time to you. They're still getting paid,
Yes.
maybe, and you're getting the quality work that you need.
Yes. Go to a supervisor or go to the head of the company and say, this is what we need. Can you help us? In return, this is what we can do. So let's find a collaborative arrangement or a partnership where we both can help. And what we need is an accountant for 2 months, 2 hours a week to help us do A, B, C, be very specific. Can you help us with that? Chances are they'll say, sure, we can do that. They may not give you their best accountant, but they'll give you an accountant. And so you may have to go to another company to find a supervisor for the accountant from the first company. So, but that was a really good question.
That would be tax deductible for that business?
Yes, yes. Yeah, a business will either donate 5% of its gross revenue to a nonprofit, or they give it to the government. They would rather give it to a nonprofit because then they get marketing out of it. If they give it to the government, what do they get? Not much. Yeah. So, yeah. Anyway, that's it for the fund development piece for tonight. Next week, we have these foundation people come in. I would suggest all of you try to get to know them, whether you need to know them now or not, because you may need to know them 2 years from now. Generally, people that work in the foundations will stick around for a number of years, because foundations generally provide for their needs and are able to keep them. So get to know Molly, get to know Christy, and they can be very, very beneficial to you. Not necessarily just through their foundation, but might be able to help you in terms of networking you with other funding sources, or can give you ideas. They also, because they've been around for so long, and both of them have been around for a long time. I think Christy's been doing it for, 12, 15 years, and I just don't know about Molly, but probably at least that long. They know a lot about infrastructure stuff, bookkeeping stuff, program, et cetera, can help you in all kinds of different ways. So get to know them and build that relationship with them, whether you need money now or not. I think it could be very, very helpful to you. I would also suggest, and I think I put it in a note that went out to you guys 2 or 3 weeks ago, if you want to invite somebody from your organization as your guest, you're welcome to do that and bring them in for this. If it would help your organization and help them, you're welcome to do that. So I will look forward to seeing you next Thursday at 6 o'clock. And let's try to be on time as much as you can. And we will finish up the fund development. In the meantime, if you have any questions between now and then, give me a call. And I'll be around most of the time. So have a good night. Drive safely.